and I was angry. I felt that if I let my guard down, I would easily be broken. And beyond that, I was scared.
After the events that took place in Super Metroid, Bounty Hunter Samus is left as a complete wreck. Traumatic experiences seem to have a way of continuously hounding her. Several games ago, after nearly causing the extinction of their entire race, she forms a relationship with a baby Metroid, an alien species deemed far too dangerous to allow the continued existence of. After forming a special bond of closeness, that, of course, is destroyed as well. Practically dead inside, flying in her spaceship, Samus receives a distress call from a space station far away. A baby's cry, as it's called. Well, why not? The girl needs something to do with her mopey self after all. Upon reaching that station, she runs into a crew she happens to go way back with. Adam Malkovich, her previous commanding officer in the Galactic Federation, decides to allow her help as they battle the hell that's been unleashed upon this station. Just why has nearly everyone been killed off, though? Who the hell has done this? Why are there so many familiar creatures roaming around? And then, what is this? Is there a traitor within Adam's team? Metroid Other M is an innovative wrecking force that attempts to mix traditional 2D gameplay inside of a 3D world. This is a vast departure from the popular Metroid Prime series of games, which raised to prominence initially on the GameCube, completing its trilogy on the Nintendo Wii. Metroid Other M draws a few inspirations from here, but heavily aims to bring a more Super Metroid style of experience. I personally loved the hell out of it. Other M can only be played with the D-pad. Yeah, kind of weird when typically you play these kinds of games with an analog stick, but it works. It keeps you on track and complements the level design. It reminded me a lot of how a game such as Resident Evil 4 had its own unique specialty controls, where the design choice is kind of odd, but it all works within the game that is actually presented. Anyway though, sometimes you need to switch into a first-person mode in order to aim more precisely, shoot some missiles, or take a look around. To do this, you knife the Wii Remote around and flip it into your dominant hand, pointing at the screen. Now you can aim and fire. Once again, unique, but it increases your level of involvement, and the game accommodates you by giving you a couple seconds of bullet time in order to properly realign yourself. This is not hard, as some other reviews have made it out to be. This is, though, a new style of gameplay. There has been a lot of complaining about the storyline and dialogue sequences in this game. It is definitely controversial. Samus moves from being a silent protagonist to a hero that expresses her ongoing fears and her emotional turmoil. She is devastated and broken, as you would assume someone like her just might possibly be, with a warped mind that falls right in line with the orders of her previous commanding officer without a single word of discontent spoken out loud. Is she respectfully fulfilling her duty, or is she being submissive? You could also potentially interpret this as her playing a little game with herself to see just how much she can get along by listening to this commanding officer's orders without straying from them. Is this actually submissiveness? Is this coping in some weird way? You can draw your own conclusions, although, yeah, it really does not matter that much, especially when the previous high bar put up by previous games has her falling into a wall and then losing her powers that way. It's really not that bad here. There are a couple little things that are kind of weird, but you know, they are easy to get over. It is kind of weird to see her held back in such a way when just previously she was pretty much just a killing machine, but it does show a unique side to the girl, and in an interesting way, it is uncomfortable, and that does make you think. This is not a game where you are now trying to project yourself into the main character, but instead observe how this created character reacts to certain situations. Being that it does make you feel uncomfortable, it does raise some emotion, which I do believe they were going for. This is not supposed to be just an avatar of yourself. It really feels like Nintendo and Team Ninja are trying to do something new, especially for Nintendo, who does not usually put out products of this type. Unfortunately, with this new mood that they are attempting to aim for, the localization is a little more cheesy than it really should be. This is not fantastically written as a storyline, but it still remains interesting, and this is ultimately only a minor complaint. The level designs are very cool, and I really enjoyed how they managed to beautify traditional locations in order to make them all still look very unique in their own way. The areas are well structured, and the flow of the game is perfect with only minor amounts of required backtracking, and even then, you're still usually running into new encounters. The level design is definitely much more linear than in previous games, but whether or not that resonates with you depends more on your personal taste and is more subjective than anything else. If you really wanted to play Metroid Prime, just go back and play Metroid Prime. This is supposed to be something different. Metroid Other M visually looks fantastic. The pre-rendered cutscenes mix well with the gameplay, delivering one of the most visually impressive Wii titles available. There's a new endless supply of enemies and bosses, all looking badass and killer, all adding toward a very haunting and chilling mood. It's not exactly Dead Space, but it still manages to hit a nice sweet spot for what it is. Other M is a very well-made game with some design decisions that people just can't handle. There's a little controversy in that you use a concentration function where you stand still in order to recover your health when it's critical, or add more missiles into your supply, but it really helps in speeding up the gameplay. There's no grinding for crap, and it's not like you can just stop there and safely heal in the middle of a boss fight. No, you can only use it when it is safe to use, and even when you do get away with using it in the middle of a big fight, you are just barely being able to do so, and it might take a few attempts. A lot of what people have been putting down about this game is all a matter of personal taste, and if this does align properly with what you are interested in, the gameplay is still fantastic. There are still going to be people out there who hate this game. With just 8 or 9 hours of gameplay in the main storyline, it did feel like they could have done just a little more, but yeah, that's just a nitpick once again. I really would have liked if they just notched up the storytelling or localization just a tiny bit more. The entire thumbs up and thumbs down thing really, I do not think worked in the original Japanese version that well, and definitely not here. Otherwise, Metroid Other M was a very exciting experience. Metroid Other M for the Nintendo Wii receives a 9 out of 10.